Hey guys, Cruz here, and welcome to this video where I'm going to highlight a Darkborn Witch Bomb list. Now in my last video, I briefly showed a faction tier list, and it looks like this. And at the very bottom there, you can see Elven Conclaves, Darkborn, and Empires of Men. So I thought, alright, if these are the factions we think are the weakest, can I make them work? Now I have a sweet spot for the Darkborn, and the consensus is also that the Darkborn Noble is one of the worst commanders out there. So I thought, let's use the Darkborn Noble, and this is what I came up with. Now at Border Patrol, all the Elven factions struggle with having to pay the double battle line unit tax. So I decided to go for Darkborn Witches with Reality Rift and the Banner of Fury, which allows me to get those witches into combat as quickly as possible so they don't get shot up by enemy ranged. Now the rest of the list is 2 units of Darkborn Riders, which are the best light cavalry out there, 2 Darkborn Chariots, and 1 unit of Darkborn Spears. This allows the list to be so incredibly mobile, hopefully allowing you to get those flanks that the Darkborn desperately need to win their games. And if you're unable to get those flanks and you spot an enemy unit that doesn't hit too hard when it's hitting back, you can just fly those witches straight into them, because they will mess up everything they face. Now the Darkborn Witches have one downside, and that is because they have Frenzy, they're not allowed to flee. And that's where the Noble comes in, to get those witches out of the most dire of situations, with his Feint ability, which allows a unit to flee. Now I played 10 games with this list, and I picked out some highlights for you guys to watch. Now the first player I queued into was Mr. The 15th Age of Newts is upon us now, UK Rocky. Now let's have a look at this game. You can see I deployed very wide and open, and that's because I know the range of the ranged pressure of the Reptilian kingdoms. Like, if you play versus them, you don't have to hide in the forest right away. And I moved my spearman forward very carefully, because if I move too far forward, I get javelined and fire lizard to death. He moves his less shooty units first, hoping I will move into range. I'm trying to be very careful and stay back a bit. I start whittling down his jungle swarm, using all the range pressure I have, and the list actually has 11 range shots, allowing for some pretty decent shooting. I managed to stay back far enough that he couldn't fire lizard me, which I'm very, very grateful for. And I move my riders forward, hoping to get into a good spot where I can get a flank next round without getting fire lizard too hard. I am running a bit low on time, and that is because I am not the fastest player out there. Now, as this is coming to an end, you can see that Yukiraki is using his skirmishers, which are the bowmen of the short bowmen of the reptile kingdoms, and he manages to get very lucky there, killing a lot of witches. Now I decide to protect my chariot with my witches, also hoping to get in and do some good damage onto that newt priest. He decides to move his pterodactyl riders forward, and I don't want them to charge into my chariot, so I decide to charge my chariot into the skirmishers instead. Now you can see I'm charging a lot here actually, and that is because I do not want him to be able to shoot, so I'm throwing units forward, hoping to get them into a position where they can get a fight and not only get shot, basically. My chariot there, he did flee back there, so this chariot is probably in for a bit of a pain. He casts Primal Fury on his newts fighting the chariot, and Hex of Ruin onto the chariot to really weaken it. This guys, I remember wondering if I should flee on the chariot, because that would get it away from the fire lizard, but I wasn't sure if I would dare to do it, and it might just flee off the map because the noble feint works in really mysterious ways. Now, the fire lizard comes in, it rolls good, but my chariot stays alive on 1 wound. I'm very grateful for that. And I move close enough forward that I get some decent shots. I actually pick off 2 pterodactyl riders. Very good stuff. 1 pterodactyl rider is not as dangerous as 3. After some shimmying back and forth, I decide to pop my 2nd rift on the witches, get them in a position where I can charge something good. Now my chariot doesn't do the most amazing, but doesn't die, but then he flees. Very unfortunate for a happy-go-lucky dark elf like me. Now I get lucky, and the fearless jungle swarm ends up fleeing. And the situation right now is not looking too shabby. Like I can go in, back charge his toad. If he flees, then he will not be able to use the spells from it this turn. So let's see how it all pans out. Do consider fleeing the chariot there, but I didn't do it. Possibly because I thought it would just die to the skirmishers in any case. I decide to blood frenzy here on the witches, because I really wanted to get to make sure that the toad flees, and he has bodyguard on those reptilian bodyguards there, so it's really hard to get him to not hold. Also, I rolled a 3, which is the highest tax, and added together with the lucky pot shots of those skirmishers early, it came back to haunt me. Well, the chariot's still alive at 1. Will it hold? Now he does throw Fiery Blades and Primal Fury onto his newts, getting them to 5 power, which does a lot of damage to my spares. And they do not, they are not able to return the favor. That is part of the power of these double caster Reptilians list. His Fire Lizard is able to take out my chariot, nothing surprising there, and my witches, with 3 attacks each, do a good job at winning, and I end up getting the flea I wanted, and then realizing maybe I did not want that after all, because now he is in my fucking face. And I had a plan. I was gonna shoot off the 1 hit point that was left on that jungle swarm, and then I was gonna move into a position where I was gonna get a good, nice flank. So yes, when you play a list like this, the price of not getting to do one of your activations can be very high. So I end up shooting the one only target I can shoot because he fled from my noble. And I'm in a world of hurt. Like, he's gonna be able to Fire Lizard me, surround me. The game went from basically me feeling very confident to me feeling like this is not gonna go well at all. All because he failed to hold his discipline check. So quite the misplay of me to place my Darkborn Riders there. So now he did charge it with the Pterodactyl Rider. So, you know, the misplay was 1 turn early. So not the easiest to see coming. But maybe I should have kept the witches alive. You know, just because I could. managed to keep my chariot alive somehow. Very impressive. Let's see. So there is this one quirk about the Noble and his feint ability, and that is that he cannot feint himself. Like, he can only make other units run away. So, there we go. My Noble gets double charged. I charge the Fire Lizard, and my riders go into the Saurian Warriors. Hopefully, I'm able to do something. Now, unfortunately for me, I am not in range to keep charging that Fire Lizard. The Newt Braves get Divine Favored, so to make sure that they pass their test, which is, I think, is a pretty good choice. And I decide to Blood Fury the Noble to increase the chance of the Jungle Swarm getting killed off by one of the riders on the side. Now, he did charge first with his Newts, so sadly... Oh, what did he do there? Alright, I managed to kill off 4, or every single one of his bodyguards, but he holds. That is a problem, because that Toad is unyielding and defense 5. So from here on out, I need to get real lucky to kill that Toad. Now, this fight, I lose so hard that I just die. There you can see it, the consequence of my one rider unit getting stuck there. Suddenly, I'm getting picked off the board. And the rest of the game is basically him cleaning up my units as they're trying to desperately hide in the middle of the woods. So, let's move on to the next one. Alright, game 1, defeat. But the list showed promise, and if I played it better, I'm pretty sure I could have won. Now my next game was against Albert MF, another 900 Elo player, who should totally join the Discord, by the way. And he was on Double Triant. A Double Triant is one of those slightly weird lists, where if you get caught by the Triants in the wrong spot and you can't kill them, you're gonna have a bad time. So I have to have a plan here. Now my plan is to not get my mobile good units stuck into his Triants, and to not end up webbed and flanked by his Chariot or Eagle. Other than that, there is a lot of damage in the Witches, but against defense 7 Triants, they're gonna be as ineffective as possible, so that is what I want to avoid. Now I place my Chariot there to ensure that his Chariot cannot flank my Spearman, and as I have a lot of mobile units, I'm really able to like move around and sort of lurk around his units quite a lot. Hopefully that's gonna work out. He ends up putting his Eagle just out of range of my Chariot. That is a very typical thing to have happen. So I move my Noble forward, trying to put some pressure onto his Druid, because I'm expecting that he will have to web my Witches then, which he doesn't. So I guess he just didn't pay attention, didn't see that the Witches had Reality Rift. But then again, it would not have changed much if he faced the right way either. But of course, him giving me a free flank, very nice for me. So as the charge phase begins, I charge my Witches into his Steepwood Guard. My Spearman will get beaten up by the Treant Elder, so of course I will flee them, and I do get a flank onto the Treant on the other side, because I'm like, I don't want to get charged by an Eagle that has charge bonus. I would rather fight his Treant with a side flank, because Chariots, they do kind of okay against Treants. Like, they're gonna lose, but they don't lose the first round with the flank bonus and everything. And my witches, they're gonna destroy those spearmen. They're gonna... There is no way they're not gonna have a real bad time. Now I'm trying to get some free pot shots with the, with the Darkborn Red side, but it does not work out. He moved his units, or his eagle, rather oddly. I guess he wants to double charge my witches, which is the perfect thing for me. So he ends up webbing my Darkborn Riders, and I decide to block his Dryads from side charging my Darkborn Riders. And let's see how it all pans out. Witches come in. I do not choose to Blood Fury, because I don't think I'll need it. And I win by 10. You know, just the typical usual stuff. My Chariot comes in, it actually does a wound. It's 2 hits, and I get real lucky and save them both. So my Chariot is alive, all is good. Now, a back charge into a Triant Elder is the best one can hope for. And Dryads into Noble, yeah, it's to be expected. The Noble should be able to equalize it. You can see he got a complete perfect surround on the Witches, which is to be expected. I mean, he did maneuver into it. So I decide to Blood Frenzy to give my Noble more attacks. And if you get lucky and only do 1 wound on yourself, you actually don't lose any of it. And then I flee. And I get lucky enough that, oh no, his units, they don't actually... they don't actually... they're not able to charge the witches after. So I found the perfect spot to hide them in my fleeing. Now the Chariot here gets real lucky, doesn't get hit, doesn't end up fleeing. With the extra attacks, I do win by 3, which is enough to pick off a few of the Dryads, so now they're less dangerous basically. And the back charge Triant doesn't flee, you know. In this charge phase, I have a side charge onto the Eagle. And I have to make a choice. Do I side charge the Eagle or do I go into the Dryads? I decide to send the Spearmen in because they have combat score, so that's +2. Should make the they're less likely to scare off the Chariots fighting. This Chariot gets lucky again, stays around, so by now it's really paid off to do that charge. I get a bit lucky, lose by 1 though, but the Noble holds. Good news for me. And in the Elder versus Chariot battle, I win, but it doesn't flee. The odds of him fleeing is very low though. And the Darkborn Riders pick up the bird. But here you can see, like, this is basically the perfect scenario for the Noble. I got my witches in, I fainted them out, managed to pick off some more units, everything is going according to plan. So all I need now is to kill enough of his troops before his Treants kill my Chariots and he starts netting points. With that in mind, I do pop Reality Rift and position myself to either go into the Dryads or into the Triant. The Chariot finally gets what's coming to him and falls. The Noble does good against the Dryads. And the Dryads actually flee, which is just very lucky. And so does his Chariot. But again, they were getting back charged next round anyways. Here I win by 2. The rank Pun is coming in strong. I get to see the witches versus the Triant. Let's see if they do good. And I do decide to put my Noble towards the Triant Elder in order to contest the objective should the Spearman and the Chariot lose. I decide to Blood Fury, get lucky on number 1. There's going to be a lot of attacks going into that Triant there now. The Chariot goes down, but rank bonus comes in. It's a draw. He does net his first 50 points of the match. And his Dryads somehow hold against getting back charged. Typical Dryad stuff. 21 hits. 5 wounds. Triant holds. The usual. So now I have to make a choice. Do I go in against the Triant Elder? I do. I actually do a wound. I'm feeling very good now. Oh, I do 2 wounds even. Meaning I win. But of course he holds. So at least I stop the points bleed. And on the other side of the map, Dryads do Dryad things. And Witches do Witches things. 13 hits. 3 more wounds, and the Triant goes down. Isn't it beautiful to see Triants just get killed? Of course, if his Druid hadn't been chased off the map turn 2, he would have healed that thing up, and it would have been a much harder game. Up next, this game, I'm against a 500-600 ELO Dwarf player who has decided to put a lot of effort into range pressure. So 2 units of rifles, a Dwarven Engineer, a Flame Cannon, and some Miners. Now I think this is a good point to bring up something about this list, is that this Darkborn list has one of the benefits. I say benefits as my Spearmen are getting annihilated. It has one of the benefits that the 500 double eagle Elven lists often would have, and that is that against players that are not super experienced, you will be given a lot of free flanks. And there you could see why dynamite is not the best thing, because those Dwarven miners actually have dynamite. And then that of course makes me very wary of the dwarf miners in the other forests, because they also have dynamite. Now, as I was saying, with a very mobile list, you often can, especially against newer players, get really well placed for doing some shenanigans. Like you just outflank them basically. They haven't learned how to stop getting flanked, and this worked really well at 500 because with less ranks, a flank was more likely to cost your units to flee. And with 650, more units have multiple ranks of rank bonus, leading to a situation where they don't flee as much, so that it simply doesn't work that well. But because the Darkborn Witches do so much damage, they do get back to that. So it's a bit of a throwback to the good old-fashioned Elven thingies. And here you can see I get a flank onto his Miners, but probably a higher ranked player would not have given away. Now you can see that I actually choose to go in with the Witches onto that copter in the middle. And that is because I just want to get rid of this very annoying piece. And because I am confident that the Witches will be as safe in combat as they will not being in combat because of all those riflemen. Oh. That was Darkborn Spears. Living life on the edge. I decide to try to hide them from some of his more rifle units. He does get in range to shoot at them, which I guess is okay. Because now he is in a precarious situation. And I did manage to force a flank. Get close to a flank, I guess, with those spearmen. So it should be bothering his miners. Well, he only got one wound onto the chariot there. That's good stuff. Let's see how this pans out. And here you can see typical flame cannon usage here. Nothing to shoot at. Moves around. Like flame cannon could be a good unit if it was more mobile. Now here you can see my opponent once again giving away a flank. Now this defense 6 copter could potentially be a hard nut to crack. But then again, I'm attacking with 17 power 4 witches attacks and they just rip through. It's glorious. Everyone should be playing Rift Witches. Over on this side, the miners, I do charge them with 2 units because I don't want them to flee and my units to get shot. Luckily for me, the miners don't do that much, and now I can even charge into the back of them. Now, here we can see how just having 1 or 2 units, the spheres there, really paying off. And I do find it very nice to be able to interrupt with that. So, you know, just keeping 1 or 2 models alive is very important. Also, I got lucky. My Darkborn Riders got an angle on that Inferno cannon. Pretty perfect. Place my witches directly behind these Dwarven riflemen so they can't flee. And then after a bit of considering, I decide to flee the spearmen because they're worth points and they'll probably rally. So I'm thinking it's going to be good to have them around. Besides, feint is a skill that, you know, it has some value, but often ends up you never end up finding a good sign for it. So use it more than less. Alright, the handguns, they rout. So does my chariot, but that's okay. It even stays on the map. My riders fail at wounding them, and then somehow lose 2 and flee. I'm not too happy about that outcome, especially considering the miners there just rallied. But what can you do? Sometimes the dice say no. I decide to send the chariot into the flame cannon now. And I also decide to go in against well, I don't go in against the handgunners, which is good. For me, that looked like an odd choice. Alright, Spearman rally. So does my chariot. And this game is coming along very nicely now. Especially when he fails that test. Alright, the miners turn around. I mean, I just move away from them, right? There's no reason to stress. And I just move out of 2 charge range. Witches do witches things. Yeah, why not just kill all of them? You know. The fact that the witches do so much damage actually makes them somewhat decent against undead as well. Like Dead Nations, you can basically mop up one of their units in 1 round if you'd use the Blood Frenzy. Maybe not the Dread Knights, but even they will take a lot of damage because they won't be saving on 2-ups. Yep, here we see me basically decide to block him. He can't move, and that gets me the flanks, and the game is basically over at this point. In the end, I win rather comfortably. And I guess that is worth pointing out that against lower elo opponents, this list did really well. Now for the final game, it is a rematch against Albert MF at roughly 950 elo. You should really join the Discord. Now in this game, he's playing Reptile Kingdoms, going for a very javelin heavy list, which is okay. I'm not afraid of those. I know how this works, but actually he has gone not only Braves, he has gone a lot of the skirmishers with short bows as well. So let's see if I underestimate those or not. Now, him moving his big Triceratops early, I think is a bit of a mistake, but I'm not sure. And we're here initially, you can see I'm just trying to pick off units that give rank bonus, etc. Because, you know, there's a magic number there. If you get it below, that's good value with those riders. And I might be wanting to charge those Braves next round. So now he decides to shoot the Chariot, which is very well armored. I decide to get my Spearman onto the objective because I have spotted something now that I'm very happy about, and that is I can move my Chariot forward to get a flank onto that Triceratops. Of course, it will be able to charge me back. But if I flank it and charge it to the front as well with the Spearman, his unit is too wide. And I'm so happy with myself over this that I actually don't have time to move my witches, so I waste my first turn of rifting. So, not ideal. Luckily, I still have the time to place my Chariot over there, so I can get into the flank of that Triceratops. And his skirmishers are too wide to mess with me, so I think he has positioned himself rather poorly. On the other side, I position my Chariot forward, hoping maybe to get a side flank on those pterodactyl riders, but in the end, as long as I can charge all his newts, I'm happy because then they won't be shooting. Here you can see me go in. And I just charge those newts. Like, he has gone with the Triceratops over from an ancient toad, so you know he's got spells, but he's not got enough of them to scare me. So he flees 1 unit of newts. That's okay. And right now, you can see that he's in a pretty decent spot for getting some shots in on my Noble, but hopefully my Noble can handle it. And I'm also very curious in this moment what to do with my witches. And then my opponent does a slight repeat of the mistake from last time. He positions himself so that he can be witched. He does try to put himself in a way so I can't flank him. There's just simply no room. But moving forward, I see that I can get in the front of the unit with his Newt Shaman. Newt Priest, right? Yeah. Alright. Spearman versus Triceratops. It's a draw. I'm okay with the draw. My Darkborn Riders spike, and I win by 3, which should be enough to get rid of some newts. It is. I roll well on my Chariot. He rolls well, but I roll well as well. So I win, but he holds that one. Now he decided to place his Pterodactyl Riders for some back charges, going in against my Noble. I'm okay with this. I also face charge this priest with my witches. where do I Blood Frenzy? And I decide to Blood Frenzy on top of the Noble, so he gets an extra attack to hit backwards. Just Blood Frenzy is on a unit with a commander, much better than on a unit without a commander. Alright, let's see how it pans out. I win by 1, and history. Triceratops runs away, opening up the game quite well. And the Braves run away, so things are going great. Can his priest stay in the game against 18 attacks hitting from the witches? Hell no. Look at it. Oh, it's beautiful, right? Beautiful, that's what it is. Huh? And my Noble holds. And then, as soon as my opponent sees that he's gonna get flanked by the chariot, he calls GG. So, overall, 10 games with this list, 8 wins, 2 losses. Both of the losses were against players 950 elo or more. Is this list good? I think it has potential. Like, there were one counter matchup I met, and that was pretty brutal, but other than that, it did really well. It did a lot better than I expected. All in all, considering how safe this list felt against low elo players, I would rate this B-. And I think I'm gonna have to move Darkborn up to C tier. And the Darkborn Noble as a commander, not trash at all. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked it, like and subscribe, and pay attention for the next video where I'm gonna test out, is Empire really that bad? Till next time.